When we started The Skin Deep in 2014, everything began with one question. How is the emotional experience of being human changing in lieu of all these technological changes? That inquiry led us, me and my team, to create the AND Project, creating the space and using well-constructed questions to illuminate human relationships. 13 years and thousands of conversations later, we've witnessed and shared countless powerful moments of human connection. Now, we're on a journey to better understand the power of human emotion, but through science. What can we learn through more scientific understanding of human connection? How can a better understanding of human connection help us solve some of our society's biggest challenges? Join us as we begin this exploration into new territory to better understand and quantify the transformative power of deeper human connection.
I got an email out of the blue from Ants one day, and he was explaining what the Skin Deep was, how you all were filmmakers and artists who are basically interested in what makes people feel connected in conversation. But something that was really missing that he said you all were interested in was the science of that connection. So he went to ChatGPT and he said, who are some scientists who are interested in what makes people feel connected in conversation? And my name popped up because that's exactly how I describe my research interests. And so I reached out and we had an initial conversation. I learned about the amazing, in my mind, data set of conversations that you all have collected, but I know that you weren't thinking about it along the lines of a data set. It's really just these films that you were collecting of people having these really intimate, deep experiences. And I saw them and I just thought, wow, I can't believe these exist. What a fascinating piece of art to study, and this could really help us answer some of the questions that I had already been interested in.
We're in the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences, which is in Moore Hall on the Dartmouth College campus. The Consortium for Interacting Minds is a collection of labs focused on trying to study social interaction. So there's a lot of research studying the consequence of an interaction or thinking about an interaction, but there's surprisingly little work directly studying the interaction itself. And we think that that part is like where a lot of the interesting action happens. One of the difficulties about why social interactions are difficult to study is that when you're recording people having interaction, especially in the context of a conversation, we don't really know what they're thinking. We can only see the things we observe. So that makes it quite difficult to study what's going on inside each mind that creates the space in between. And in addition, there's a lot of methodological difficulties about how do you actually get all of this equipment and synchronized and recording from both people. And then even if you could do that, how do you analyze the data? So that's like another really large, I think, difficulty in the field has to face and figure out how to solve.
The AND videos are such an incredible data set in large part because of the filming choice you all have made to show the 3 different views of the conversation. And so the AND videos will have the profile view where you get to see the 2 people in conversation with each other, what they're doing with their bodies. I love when they reach out to hold hands or to pat the other person's knee. But then you get to see something you never get to see in your own conversations, which is both faces at one time. In my own conversations, I can never see my own face, first of all. And then when you're in a conversation with more than one person, you have to attend to one face, attend to another face. You show them side by side. And that's pretty incredible. These choices that you made to show the different viewpoints of a conversation are the same choices that a researcher with a lot of forethought designing a conversation experiment would also make. You also have a lot of these conversations. There's so many and videos. There's so many different types of relationships that are represented that make them really interesting for us as researchers to want to analyze.
When we came across the Skin Deep videos, I was really intrigued by them because so I'm trained as a clinical psychologist, so I used to do a lot of therapy, couples therapy and family therapy. And it took me to a place where I felt like a voyeur in these really intimate parts of people's lives that you never get to see. They're very moving things that are rare and special that we want to observe and witness and just to feel something and feel connected to other people. And so, you can't do a lot of patient privacy. You can't share therapy tapes but there's been a lot of television shows and other content that's tried to get in that space to give it an authentic way. Reality shows, which are trying to get at people's lives, but now they're kind of almost a bit cartoonish. And I think there's something really authentic about the stuff that people share and the Skin Deep videos that I found very compelling. And I think one of the things we're interested in is what about it, do people like? Why do they want to keep watching it? What value does it bring to them? When you're watching people go through and say something difficult and coming up with the courage and finding the words, there's something really inspiring that they can do it, because I feel I always think I'm going to choke if I was in that situation, and I would just bumble it and say the worst thing possible. And watching other people do it in such a beautiful way, I think it's very inspiring, I think. And myself, I find when I watch them, I feel I just want to talk to people and connect with them a little bit more as a consequence. I don't know why. I think there's it might be the pacing of it. It might be just how serious the people take it, and that their willingness to share that with other people. But it makes me feel a little bit more intentional and to seek out talking about these things with other people in a way. And I have a feeling other people feel that same way too. And so that's another thing we're interested in trying to study.
What motivates you to do your work?
I have always been interested in conversation, specifically what makes people click with each other and feel connected. I wonder why it's something that we struggle to initiate so much. When we end up doing it, it's this great feeling. What is going on that first makes it challenging for us to sometimes engage in the first place? And then what happens over the course of that interaction that can produce these really strong feelings of connection versus not? And how can we better understand what that is? And I think that there's not a clear explanation, but I think knowing the answer is profoundly important, because it's something that we need to feel.
Are you feeling emotional right now?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know.
Whenever you talk about your work?
Yeah.
Or you talk about people connecting?
Yeah, I just care about it. Yeah.
Watching the team from Dartmouth use the AND as a data set to better understand human connection is such a reminder for me of the power of vulnerability. And most importantly, it reminds me of the courage of the thousands of participants who've been part of the AND project over the past 13 years. How we understand and quantify human connection opens up some really big questions worth exploring. And as the world continues to speed up and change at a rapid rate with all these new technologies, I feel like there's never been a better time or more important time for us all to understand the power and potential of what makes us most human. We are just beginning this journey, so stay tuned and let's see where we go.
Loneliness is increasing. People just aren't deepening interactions. AI is also changing the way that we interact. We have options now to choose between interacting with another human being versus a chatbot.
That question has never been testable before.
I have no idea where I am, but I'm just jungling through, trying to find answers.